So first, could you tell me how it feels to be given the honorary degree?
I feel very humbled and honored. It was a great occasion to receive this honor from the Northampton University, and I'm really grateful to the university.
Must be a very proud moment when you found out you would receive this.
Yes, it was, and I couldn't believe it. And 2 years ago, we actually worked a partnership with the Northampton University on the social enterprise impact. I run a charity, and therefore it was important for the university to do this program, regarding the social impact, and they chose the Loomba Foundation. So since then, I have been associated with the university, and they have already done impact report on my work. And believe it or not, what we are doing is actually tenfold. Every penny we receive from our donors, it actually changes into 10 times. So Professor Olinga, who was doing this initiative, was very, very pleased to work with us. And then he proposed that I should receive this honor.
You're very well known for your charity work. What do you hope to achieve with your charity?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that this problem of widows was completely unknown. It was known, but people did not recognize it. It was like putting under the carpet. So, including the United Nations, they had never attended to this huge problem. And I sort of grew as a widow's son, and I saw firsthand the discrimination and prejudices against my mother. And I was too young. I was only 10 years old at that time, and I couldn't understand what was going on. But when I got married, the priest who was conducting my marriage asked my mother to move away from the altar, and that is when I got very angry, and that really inspired me in a way that I should do something to change the status of widows. So slowly and gradually I grew up, and I saw the sufferings of my mother, and with hard work and with the opportunities which were available in the United Kingdom, which I probably wouldn't have had in other countries, I became successful in business, and I decided that I should actually do something for other unfortunate children of widows, because I was fortunate that my father was a successful businessman, and he left resources to my mother, who had a vision and decided to use every penny for the education of 7 children who she brought up single-handedly. I was educated in India, I was educated in America, and I think it's through my education that I made success. So I wanted to honor my mother. In her memory, I set up this charity, and it is for widows and to raise awareness of the problems widows face. But after working for 7 years in India, where we educated more than 9,000 children and supported more than 50,000 family members, I realized that this problem was not subjected to India alone. In fact, widows in Africa were suffering a lot because they were losing their husbands through HIV. And once they lost a husband through HIV, they were not accepted by the family members. They would not even touch her. Children were also neglected. And in fact, they ended up as destitutes, because in African countries, the tradition was, and it still is, that the eldest brother of the deceased husband would marry the widow or the younger brother, but it will be in the family. So he will inherit all the wealth and look after the children. It was working in the past, but since HIV came into play, so to speak, he would take all the wealth, but he would not take her as his wife, and therefore she was completely destitute. And I took this case to the United Nations. First of all, I launched International Widows Day to make the world aware of the problem, and I chose 23rd of June. In fact, that is the day when my mother became widow in 1954 in India. So after 5 years campaigning, which was tireless campaigning, I knocked at the doors of the United Nations, and eventually the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon saw the problem, because I presented him a research study, which was a comprehensive research study conducted by the Loomba Foundation. In that study, it was discovered to my own amazement that there are 45 million widows around the world and 500 million children of them. So almost 750 million people suffer just because they lost their husband or father. Not their fault. He might have died through illness, through conflict, through poverty, and yet they become the victims, and nobody looks after them. There is nothing written in Millennium Development Goals about widows. So I was very pleased. It was like a dream come true that the United Nations adopted 23rd of June as International Widows Day. Every year since then, the Secretary General has been issuing messages which goes to all the members of the United Nations, and he is telling them that widows must be given place in society. They should be treated as women and not as widows. In the House of Lords, I have carried out many debates on widows, and the government, British government, has also accepted now that the widows are victims of double discrimination. They're widows and they're women. So I hope with the passage of time and with people like yourself, because media is the largest tool to address any problem in anywhere in the world, that in years to come, International Widows Day will have a real effect, that we don't have to talk about widows.
So a very proud moment for you today. You've achieved a lot of things in the past, obviously, with the charity and obviously today as well. So you must be very proud looking back on everything.
I'm very proud, and I thank everyone, my family, a lot of corporations, and I can't name them here, but it has become like a movement now. Both British government and Indian government and American government, they all support this cause. Hillary Clinton has spoken on my events. Laura Bush actually invited me to the White House to have a lunch with her and to explain to her personally what the problem is, and she was really moved and she wanted to help us. Both David Cameron and Nick Clegg are my patrons. Richard Branson is supporting us as a patron-in-chief, and Mrs. Blair, Sherry Blair, is supporting us right from the beginning since I set up this charity in 1998, and she became my first patron, and now she is our president. So I'm proud, but I'm also very satisfied that this cause is now coming to the attention of people and is being addressed, because I don't see why a woman or a child should suffer through no fault of their